Something changed that night. Something neither Diane nor her son Tyler could have expected. It was a quiet evening when the house settled into stillness, leaving only the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of wind outside. But when Tyler quietly approached her, everything shifted. What followed was a conversation that would stay with Diane forever, altering their relationship in a way neither could have anticipated. From where are you watching us tonight? Drop your city in the comments, I'd love to know. The house was finally quiet. After a long day of managing household chores, catching up on work, and keeping up with Tyler's never-ending list of needs, Diane could feel the weight of exhaustion pressing down on her shoulders. She just finished her usual evening routine, checking on the laundry, making sure the front door was locked, and now she was ready for bed. The house was dark except for the soft light spilling from the kitchen, where a half-drunk cup of coffee sat forgotten on the counter. Diane glanced at the clock, almost midnight. Her husband had long since fallen asleep, and Tyler, well, he usually stayed up later than she did. But tonight, the house had a quiet, almost peaceful aura to it. The stillness felt strange, almost too calm. Diane made her way upstairs, each step creaking underfoot as she passed the rooms, each one silent with the weight of sleep. The house seemed to hold its breath. Just as she reached the door of her bedroom, she heard it. Soft footsteps coming from down the hall. She froze. It was too late for anyone to be awake. She glanced at the clock again. Was Tyler still up? Her instincts were to call out, but something in her held her back. It wasn't fear. No, not that. There was something else. A curiosity, perhaps. She turned slowly, her gaze shifting toward the end of the hallway, where the dim light from the living room spilled into the space. And then there he was. Tyler. He was standing there, his face partially illuminated by the faint light, his posture hesitant, almost shy. There was something in his eyes, a mixture of concern and something deeper that she couldn't quite place. Diane blinked, taking a step back. "Mom?" Tyler said softly, his voice low but clear. She didn't know why, but the way he spoke made her heart skip a beat. There was a vulnerability in his tone that caught her off guard. For a moment, Diane simply stood there, unsure of what to say. She always felt like she was the one holding the reins of their relationship, guiding Tyler through the ups and downs of his life, trying to make sure he understood right from wrong. But now, in this moment, she couldn't help but feel like something was shifting. "Tyler?" Diane asked, her voice quiet, almost as soft as his. "Is everything okay?" He hesitated for a moment, looking down at the floor, his hand rubbing the back of his neck. The movement was almost like a signal, an unspoken message that he was grappling with something, struggling to find the right words. I need to talk to you," he said finally, lifting his head to meet her eyes. His gaze was intense, earnest, like he had something heavy on his mind. "It's important." Diane's heart began to race, not out of fear, but because she felt an unexpected pull, an emotional depth that had been absent in their previous conversations. Tyler had always been a good son, dependable, respectful. But this felt different. She could see it in the way he stood there, his body tense, his eyes searching for something in her face. Maybe understanding, maybe reassurance. But whatever it was, Diane knew this wasn't just a casual chat. "Come in," she said, stepping back from the door, her voice steady but full of curiosity. "Let's sit down." Tyler didn't move right away. Instead, he seemed to take a deep breath, like he was gathering the courage to speak. Diane noticed the small tremor in his hands and the way his shoulders were slightly hunched, as if he were bracing himself for something. For a moment, Diane just stood there, studying him. Her son, her child. He had always been so strong, so confident, and yet, right now, he seemed like he was on the edge of something that would change both of them forever. Slowly, Tyler walked toward her, and Diane led him to the couch in her bedroom, where they usually sat to talk. There was an empty space between them, but this time, it felt like the distance wasn't just physical, it was emotional. Tyler seemed hesitant to sit too close, but he did, eventually, lowering himself onto the edge of the cushion. Diane waited for him to speak, her gaze soft, patient. Tyler opened his mouth as if to say something, then stopped, closing his eyes for a brief moment. It was as if he were weighing his words, trying to figure out how to say whatever it was that had been building up inside of him. He started, then stopped again. I don't know how to say this, but I've been thinking about something for a while now, and I need you to understand. His voice cracked slightly, and it hit Diane like a punch to the gut. She wasn't sure why, but there was something about the way he said those words that made everything feel different. Her son was about to say something that would shift the dynamic of their relationship. She could feel it. Tyler? Diane whispered, her heart heavy with a sudden surge of emotion. You can tell me anything. You know that. His eyes flickered with uncertainty, but there was a quiet determination there too. He was about to open up in a way he never had before, and Diane knew that whatever came next would change everything. Without another word, Tyler took a deep breath and looked at her, as if ready to share something that had been buried deep within him for far too long. And in that moment, Diane realized this wasn't just a conversation. This was the beginning of something new. The truth was waiting. Tyler sat there, staring at the floor, his hands clasped tightly together. The silence between them was thick, almost suffocating. Diane could feel the weight of his unspoken words pressing down on her, making it harder for her to breathe. She could sense the struggle within him, that internal battle between wanting to speak his truth and the fear of how it would affect her. For a moment, Diane wished she could just take the words out of his mouth, make it easier for him. But she knew this was something he had to do on his own. She had always tried to be the strong one, the one who held it all together. But tonight, she realized that her son had grown up in ways she hadn't fully understood. "Tiger," she said softly, breaking the silence, "whatever it is, I'm here. You don't have to be afraid." He looked up at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of relief and something else, something raw. Diane could see the tension in his shoulders start to ease just a little, as if her simple words had given him a sliver of the comfort he had been searching for. "I've been feeling lost, Mom," Tiger admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know who I am anymore." Diane's heart clenched at his words. Her mind raced, but she forced herself to stay calm, to listen without judgment. She knew Tiger had been going through something, but she never expected it to be like this. Something so deep, so profound. "I don't understand, Tiger," she said gently, her voice steady. "What do you mean? You're not lost. You're a good person, a good son. You've always known who you were." Tiger shook his head, the movement small but definitive. "That's the problem, Mom. I've always thought I knew who I was, but lately everything's been blurry, like I'm going through the motions, but I don't feel like myself anymore." Diane leaned forward, her hand reaching out instinctively. She placed it on his, squeezing it gently, offering the silent comfort of her presence. She wanted to say something to make him feel better, to fix whatever it was that was hurting him, but she knew better than to offer empty words. This wasn't something she could just solve with a few comforting phrases. "Is it something about your work or your friends?" she asked, searching his face for any sign of what might be behind his pain. Tiger looked up at her, his expression pained. "It's not that simple, Mom. It's not something I can fix just by changing my job or hanging out with different people. I've been thinking a lot about us." He paused, his voice faltering. "About you." Diane's brow furrowed in confusion. "Us? What do you mean?" Tyler swallowed hard, his eyes darting away from hers for a moment before returning. "I don't know how to say this, but I've been feeling this. Tension between us, and I've been carrying it for so long, but I didn't know how to bring it up." Diane felt a pang of worried twist in her chest. Tension. She couldn't think of any tension between them. They had always been close, or so she thought. She'd always tried to be open with Tyler, to make sure he knew he could talk to her about anything. But now, as she looked into his eyes, she realized that maybe she hadn't been as open as she thought. "What kind of tension?" Diane asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Her pulse quickened as she waited for him to answer, the air between them thick with anticipation. Tyler hesitated again, clearly searching for the right words. "It's hard to explain. I feel like you've always seen me as your little boy, but I'm not that anymore, Mom. I'm not a child, and I think I've been trying to figure out who I am in your eyes." Diane's heart sank. She had never meant to make him feel that way. She had always been proud of him, watched him grow into the young man he was becoming. But now, she wondered if she had been too focused on protecting him, too focused on keeping him close. Had she been holding on too tightly? "I didn't mean to make you feel that way, Tyler," she said softly, her voice filled with regret. "I never wanted to hold you back. I've always wanted what's best for you." Tyler nodded, his expression softening. "I know, Mom. I know you've always wanted the best for me, but I've been feeling like I need to stand on my own now. I need to find my own way. And that's been hard, because I don't know how to do that while still being your son." Diane took a deep breath, her emotions swirling inside her. She didn't know how to respond, how to make him understand that no matter what, he would always be her son, and that would never change. But she realized that she had to let him find his own path, even if it meant stepping back and giving him space to grow. "I'm proud of you, Tyler," she said, her voice full of sincerity. "I'm proud of the man you're becoming, and I'll always be here for you, no matter what. But I understand that you need to figure this out on your own. You're not just my son, you're an individual with your own journey, and I'll support you in that, even if it's hard for me." Tyler's eyes filled with emotion, and for a moment, Diane saw a flicker of something in his gaze, gratitude, maybe, or relief. It was like it had been lifted, at least for the moment. "Thanks, Mom," he said quietly. "That means more to me than you know." The room felt a little lighter. Now, the tension beginning to dissipate. Diane smiled softly, her heart swelling with love for her son. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy, but they had taken a significant step in understanding each other. And as Tyler finally relaxed into the couch beside her, Diane realized that maybe, just maybe, they were both on the same journey together. One that would lead them to a deeper understanding of themselves and each other. The stillness in the room had finally settled into something more comfortable, something akin to peace. Diane sat next to Tyler, both of them absorbing the weight of conversation that had just unfolded between them. Her mind was spinning, filled with thoughts of what her son had shared, and the realization that things between them were changing, transforming into something deeper, something more complex. But there was also a sense of clarity now, a quiet understanding. Diane had always been the one to keep things together, to maintain the calm in their household. But this moment, this honest exchange, had turned the tables. It wasn't about control anymore. It was about respect. Respect for each other's space, each other's boundaries, and the individual paths they needed to walk. Tyler was no longer the boy who needed her to guide him through every step of his life. He was becoming his own person, with his own challenges and dreams, and Diane realized that she had to give him the space to grow, to find himself. For a few minutes, neither of them spoke. The room was quiet, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like an unspoken agreement had passed between them, a mutual understanding that they were both figuring things out, each in their own way. Finally, Tyler broke the silence, his voice softer now, like he was testing the waters before he spoke again. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about supporting me no matter what. And I want you to know that I've always appreciated that. I've always known you've been there for me." Diane turned to face him, her heart swelling with emotion. "I will always be here, Tyler. Even when it feels like I'm not, I will be." He nodded slowly, as if reassuring himself of the truth in her words. He wasn't used to opening up like this, but there was something in Diane's eyes that made it easier for him. There was no judgment, no pressure, just a quiet presence that allowed him to be himself, to express what he had been carrying for so long. "I think that's the hardest part, Mom," Tyler admitted, his voice trembling slightly. "I've always felt like I needed to have everything figured out, like I needed to have it all under control. But now I'm realizing that it's okay not to have all the answers. It's okay to not know everything, to not have everything sorted out." Diane's heart ached as she heard the vulnerability in his words. She had never known Tyler to doubt himself in such a way. He had always been so sure of everything, so steady. But now it seemed like he was facing the uncertainty of life in a way that she hadn't seen before. "That's a hard realization to come to," Diane said softly. "I think we all go through moments like that, where we feel lost or unsure. But the important thing is that you're recognizing it, and you're not alone in it, Tyler. I've been through my own share of those moments too." Tyler's gaze met hers, his eyes searching for something. "You have?" Diane smiled gently. "Of course. I've had my own struggles, my own doubts. There were times when I didn't know where I was headed, times when I felt like I was just going through the motions, doing what I thought I was supposed to do. But I'd learned that it's okay to feel that way. It's part of being human." The air between them felt warmer now, more connected. Diane had always believed in being open with Tyler, but this level of honesty and vulnerability was something new for both of them. It felt like they had crossed a threshold together, one that would shape their relationship moving forward. Tyler shifted slightly, leaning back into the couch. He let out a deep breath, his body relaxing as if the tension he had been carrying was slowly starting to fade. "I guess I've been afraid," he said quietly. "Afraid that if I let go of the idea that I need to have everything figured out, that it'll all fall apart, that you'll see me as weak, or that I'm not. I don't know enough." Diane reached over, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. "Tyler, you are more than enough. You've always been enough. You don't need to have everything figured out to be important or valuable. Just being yourself, being honest with me, that's all I've ever asked for." Tyler's expression softened, and he nodded slowly. "I don't know why it took me so long to realize that. I think sometimes we just need time," Diane said with a smile. "Time to grow, time to understand. And sometimes it takes moments like this to get there." For a while, the two of them just sat together in the quiet, allowing the weight of the conversation to settle in their hearts. Diane felt a sense of peace wash over her, knowing that her relationship with her son had shifted, not in a way that left them distant, but in a way that allowed for more understanding, more respect for each other's paths. She was learning too, learning that sometimes the most important thing was simply to listen, to be present, and to give the people you love the space they needed to grow. After a few moments, Tyler spoke again, his voice steady now. "I think I'm ready to start figuring things out. I know I don't have all the answers, but maybe that's okay. Maybe I just need to take it one step at a time." Diane smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "That's all anyone can do, Tyler, one step at a time." And as they sat together, surrounded by the stillness of the night, Diane realized that this moment wasn't just about Tyler learning to navigate his own journey. It was about her, too. It was about understanding that the journey wasn't one she could control, but one she could support. And that was enough. Because sometimes, the most important moments in life weren't about grand gestures or dramatic changes. They were about the quiet, honest conversations that changed everything.